Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be quickly discussing the 10 books I read in December. I don't have much time to film this video, so my reviews are going to be very brief. Normally I go in chronological order, but this way just made more sense to me. I listened to the last 3 audiobooks of the Harry Potter. In December of 2017, I listened to the first 4 Harry Potter audiobooks for the first time ever. The audiobooks, not reading them, obviously. And so, because it's kind of becoming a Christmas tradition for me, I decided to pick up the last 3 on audio. I don't have like a crazy amount of thoughts about them. It's my favorite series of all time. I just loved re-immersing myself back into the world. The only real thing that stands out to me was how much more sympathy I feel for Harry and empathy for how much he goes through. They were rereads, 5 out of 5 stars. Let's move on. First book I actually physically read in December was The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This follows a young boy growing up in Afghanistan's very rocky, changing government, from the monarchy to the Soviet invasion to the Taliban, and it follows this young man and his life with his best friend and how things change. Sorry, I think I nearly spoiled something. I'm not going to say it, never mind. This one was beautiful and heartbreaking and difficult to read. There were times and passages where I had to stop for a minute because I was disturbed and upset. A ton of trigger warnings for this book. There is abuse, sexual assault, rape of children. It is no joke. It's really, really upsetting. I love his writing and the way he just puts words together, but I will say it could get a little on the nose with some of the themes that he wanted to let you know. But this was his debut novel, and for a debut it was stunning. 4 out of 5 stars. I'm so happy I finally read this one. It was really good. The next book I read I had been meaning to read for all of 2018, and of course I'd read it last minute as per usual, but it was The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. This is set in 1850s Ireland, and it follows an English nurse who gets a job to essentially watch over this 12-year-old Irish girl who claims that she hasn't eaten for the past 3-4 months. For the first third/half of this book, I was pretty bored. The actual physical traveling and getting there and learning our initial our initial issue in this story was pretty dry. Once we really got into the meat of the story and the mystery kept getting bigger and changing, it became very interesting to me. I thought the setting lent very well to the story, and the atmosphere that was created from it was great. I also really loved our main character. She has very modern sensibilities for the time, but she doesn't feel out of place. Didn't love the ending. I thought it wrapped up too neatly. Was hoping that Emma Donoghue was going to have any sort of discussion/thoughts on toxic religion. I actually gave The Wonder 3.5 out of 5 stars. Nearly forgot. The next book I read was pretty disappointing, and it was Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk by Kathleen Rooney. In 2017, I accidentally DNF'd this. I read, I think, nearly 100 pages and was really enjoying it, but just kind of forgot that I was reading it. I started from the beginning, and I just didn't really like it this time around. This story takes place, and I think 1984 on New Year's Eve, and it follows an 85-year-old woman taking a walk around New York and reflecting upon all of her life experiences. When I started reading it the first time, I really loved the voice of Lillian. I loved finding out about her life and how she was such this big, huge character. But I got bored by the end. I thought this book got incredibly formulaic. She would walk to a place, talk to a person, and a memory would surge up from it. It never really diverged from that. It was incredibly repetitive, and that's what kind of soured me a little bit on the story. I also wasn't expecting the ending. I thought it was okay and decent, but when I reached the end of it, I didn't really care anymore. I was disappointed in this one. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It sucks because I really was loving it the first time, but I don't know. I don't think I could personally recommend it. I was pretty disappointed. Luckily, the next book I read was fantastic, and it was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. Homegoing is set in 1700s Ghana, and it is a family saga. At the start of our story, it follows 2 women, half-sisters, who never meet. It just follows these 2 women and their descendants, and basically shows the effects of colonialism and slavery on their lives. This was also pretty difficult to read at times. It tackles a huge horde of incredibly upsetting topics. It discusses slavery, imperialism, colonialism. It discusses how slavery and racism haven't really gone away, but how they've morphed and taken a different form in society. And this book was 300 pages, and we get about 30 pages per character. Her writing was incredibly sharp. I am so thoroughly impressed by this story, and the fact that this is a debut is like mind-blowing. I cannot believe how well this was pulled off. It was fantastic. I highly recommend you read it. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I listened to it on audio, which I also recommend. I thought our narrator did a fantastic job. 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. I picked up A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and hated it. Oh my God. Didn't expect to have that reaction to this story. I hated this. I'm obviously familiar with the story and the beats that this story follows, and so that's why I picked it up. I thought it was time to maybe read the source material. And while I like the story and the messaging behind it, I hate Charles Dickens' writing. At least what I had gotten out of this book, I just hated the writing. It was meandering, unnecessarily long and descriptive, and this is a short story. The writing should not bog this story down, but boy, did it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars because, again, I liked the story. I like the intention behind it, but I thought his writing was the worst. The next book I also listened to on audio, and it was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Basically falling in love for the first time and also discovering the power of spoken word poetry. This novel is told in verse, and while I do think I missed out a little bit on the formatting of how it was physically on the page, I don't regret it at all because this story is actually narrated by the author herself. You could feel the passion and the truth behind Acevedo's words. It was incredibly powerful, incredibly moving and upsetting, and so much of this story resonated with me. I think I forgot to mention this, but this story is own voices. Certain aspects of this story really resonated with me. I absolutely adored every second of it. I love our main character so much, Xiomara. She was fantastic to read from. I loved how fierce she was. I loved her unwillingness to be silenced, and I loved so much just the power of her words and her voice, and I just loved her so much. I've seen reviews where people said that they felt a bit disconnected from the story because it was so short or it was told in verse, but honestly, didn't affect me at all. I thought it was stunning. Can't recommend this story enough. If you can, please pick up the audiobook. It's definitely worth it. I loved this book. I cannot wait to get my own physical copy. This next book, I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to rate it or a lot of my thoughts on it. I should just get it out of the way. It's Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, and I'm going to put it down because this book is a monster. So Queen of Air and Darkness is the third and final book in the Dark Artifices trilogy. It's like book number 12, 13 in the Shadowhunter world, and I love the Shadowhunter world. I've loved it for almost 10 years now, which is a scary thought. I find the Shadowhunter books quite difficult to review because I've been immersed in this world for so long and I've loved these books for so long. It's hard to quantify and like stick a number rating. I thought that this finale was actually a little crazy, a little out there for Cassandra Clare, but I still really enjoyed the ride. I love our side characters. That is what I think really carries this story through. I do plan on doing a sit-down review for this story. I kind of vlogged my experience reading it, which was very new to me and unique, but also kind of fun. I know it's been quite a while since I actually read the book, but I haven't actually settled on a rating yet. It's somewhere between 4 and 4.5 out of 5 stars. I hope this video didn't suck. I feel like it kind of did. My thoughts were kind of all over the place, so my apologies. I'd like to know what your favorite book you read in December was. I really appreciate you watching this. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!